I am excited to talk about what we are today, which is how to take 6 steps to go from part-time to full-time landlord. It's a subject that I see that comes up. People ask all the time, like, how can I do this so I don't have to work for my
That's the
corporate
dream, right?
job or whatever, right? um, Last week, if you joined us, we talked about geo arbitrage. A lot of good information Brian provided on that. I learned some myself. And please let us know where you're joining us from. Just pop a comment right in the comments and let us know. And if you have any questions or comments, just throw them right in there. This is definitely an interactive. I don't want to sit here and just talk. So please join in and give us your opinions, or maybe if you have tips that helps other people. So let us know. Sorry, my dog isn't very annoying to me right now.
All right.
Um,
It adds a little, flavor, right? Little color to the to the podcast. Tim Dooley says, "Hey guys, still here in Virginia Beach." And Tim, great to see you, as always.
Nice. It must be nice in Virginia Beach right around now. Not too hot, not too cold.
Yeah.
So, Brian, why don't you start us off and tell us what is the first step in getting to that full-time landlord part of life?
Sure. So, most people start out as part-time landlords. They buy a rental property or two on the side of their full-time job, start building a little bit of passive income, semi-passive income on the side of their
Some
full-time
people
job.
end up getting there by mistake.
That's right. And we've interviewed people on this show who, they've reached financial independence within like a year and a half of buying their first rental property.
Crazy.
I know, it's crazy to me. So, and look, working definitely helps you get there faster, right? And, if you have that steady 9 to 5 paycheck in addition to that rental income that you're building, you can go out and build your portfolio faster, and it's easier to qualify for financing. And there are plenty of ways in which continuing to work your full-time job is helpful and useful as you build your portfolio of rentals. But
Hmm.
we all kind of want to be able to ditch that day job, right? I mean, that's the goal here, financial independence. um, and like we'll talk about today, we'll go through some of this stuff. You don't need to be able to cover your entire living expenses with your rents, your net rental cash flow necessarily, and we'll talk about how. But the first step to becoming a full-time landlord is building a deep emergency fund slash cash cushion. You need a lot of cash to be able to get you through some of the ups and downs of being a landlord. You're going to have
A
those
lot of
$5,000 repair bills.
And a lot of people, yeah, it should be larger than, because I think some people think, oh, if I have a couple hundred or whatever, they just don't figure in, like you just said, for the larger um, repairs and stuff that can come out of nowhere.
Yeah, and property owners in general need a larger emergency fund, a larger cash cushion than renters do, than non-landlords do. And the more properties you have, the more of a cash cushion you need. You really need a cash cushion for each property, and that starts with your primary residence if you're a homeowner. And you need one. We have an article detailing this on our website about how much money you need as an emergency fund, both as a homeowner and as a landlord. And it's really per property. So more properties you have, the more cash you need to set aside, because you don't know when you're going to get hit with those huge repair bills, when you're going to get hit with a vacancy, a nasty turnover, et cetera, et cetera. So that's step one. Set aside a cash cushion, because you never know when you're going to get hit with some of these. Step two is you really want to refine your business plan beyond what you've probably done for your first couple properties. Your first couple properties, you probably winged it a little bit, right? Like you probably didn't sit down and write out a business plan. But at the very least, if you want to be a full-time landlord, you need to get very clear on your goals with your real estate investing. You also need to get really clear about your competitive advantages. So sit down and write these out. How are you going to fund these purchases? What are your goals? Are you looking to flip half of your properties to keep some. Oh, look at that dog. I love it. For those of you listening, Jenny's dog just went right up in and stuck his tongue into her ear.
Yeah, he does. He does that.
Anyway, where were we? So, right, competitive advantages and goals. You need to write these out, and you also, as the third and related step to that is you need to create contingency plans for those goals. So maybe your primary plan is to flip half of the properties you do, and the other half you do like the BRRRR deals, like the buy, refinance, or buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. Renovating properties and keeping them as rentals. But you might want to have you might want to keep, you may end up having to keep some of those as rental properties even if you were planning on flipping them. And you also want contingency plans for forms of income. So it helps to flip the occasional house to get that influx of cash. It helps to wholesale the occasional property to get that influx of cash, whether that's for your personal expenses once you quit your day job, whether that's for investing capital for other deals. So step 3 is really creating these contingency plans, these ways to keep earning income without your full-time job, and contingency plans for your real estate deals. If plan A doesn't work out, what's plan B? If your goal is to buy short-term rentals to rent on Airbnb, if that doesn't work out, will it make money as a long-term rental? Right? So you want to have those contingency plans in place. Step 4 is building your team, and particularly contractors. Now your team doesn't end at contractors. You really want to have at least 1 or 2 good realtors in the market where you invest, people who specialize in working with investors. You should have a good home inspector that you work with. You should have a good property manager. Even if you plan on self-managing, it helps to have some of these people in place, again, as a contingency.
An attorney.
Real estate attorney. And with contractors, you need everybody so you need a low-cost handyman, you need roofers and electricians and plumbers and HVAC guys, and you need all of these different specialists, and not just one of each specialist. You need several of each, because your primary person may not be available when you need them. When that furnace fails in January, your first choice, your second choice, they may not be available. You might need to go to that third choice, or even fourth choice. So you want to build that Rolodex, as it were.
Times, I don't know if everybody else, I'm sure they are having what's going on now in my area, but I mean, you can't even order an oven without it taking months. It's crazy right now out there. So you definitely, and finding plumbers, electricians and whatnot, they're so backed up. So it is good to have, I was going to say Rolodex. That really ages me, but.
Well, I mean, it's entered our cultural lexicon, right? So, I mean, people know what we mean.
Right.
Your virtual Rolodex, whatever. Yeah, you need to build that team, in particular with contractors. Step 5 is you want to become an expert on the housing market where you invest. Now, that might be where you live. You might invest where you live, or you might invest out of state or in some far distant city. You may even invest in another country. But wherever you invest, it really helps to get to know that housing market really well, getting to know it inside and out.
What are some things you can do to get to know your area better?
You can look up information like crime rates and school quality on websites like citydata.com. And there are several of similar websites like that where you can see that kind of neighborhood level data. That's really useful. Obviously, Zillow is a great resource for checking out both the market sales prices and market rents. Craigslist is an oldie but goodie for checking out market rents as well. So yeah, I mean, do as much research as you can, and talk to people who operate there. If you're out of state, talk to realtors who specialize in working with investors in that market, and talk to them about the best neighborhoods for landlords and for real estate investors. neighborhoods to avoid, whether because they're too high or too low. Um, so yeah, talk to people on the ground there and combine that with your online research as well.
Another thing that I suggest to a lot of people is to, if you can, if you're near the neighborhood, obviously if you're investing from a distance, you can't, but if you're not far, go ahead and drive at different times of the day and night to see what's going, because you'd be surprised what that tells you.
Oh yeah.
And you would be surprised what information you can get from the postman, honest to God, who's
Yeah.
got a warrant out and all kinds of stuff. So,
Yeah, so locals or people who really operate in that local market, you said the postman is a good example, but also, local bartenders, local baristas, people who live and work in that area and who spend all day talking to people who live in that neighborhood can be a really good source of information as well.
absolutely.
All right, so step 6 is systematizing your business. Again, with 1 or 2, 3 rental properties, you can get away with kind of winging it. As you ramp this up, and if you want to become a full-time landlord, you really need to have systems in place for everything, and you want to automate as much as you possibly can. So that includes getting really efficient in turning over your units, because every day that property sits vacant is day that costs you money, both on your mortgage, on your property taxes, on your insurance, on your utilities. Um, you also want to especially systematize processes like tenant screening, rent collection, evictions are a big one. If you are not, if you do not manage your rental properties as efficiently and as in the machine-like way that mortgage lenders manage their loans, then you're doing it wrong.
Mm,
If someone is late, they get a late notice. If they go past the grace period, they get an eviction warning notice, and so on and
absolutely.
so forth. If you don't have systems in place for these things, you need them in place. And of course, we offer landlord software that you can
We
use for free.
do?
Indeed. But we're not the only people out there, of course. So, check us out. You can obviously check out the competitors as well. Um,
There is a link,
there we go.
in
Tim
the
Dooley
chat.
says, I've been using my 401k as my cash cushion, which can work. And that offers some efficiencies because your money is still out there working for you and earning you a return, even while serving as as part of your emergency fund. You do want some cash set aside as your emergency fund, but you can also layer on top of that emergency fund things like unused credit cards that you can turn to, things like short-term investments that are not very volatile and that you can tap really easily. Can also pad out your emergency fund. So, Tim raises a good point that your emergency fund doesn't have to be just money sitting in your savings account
Right.
in cash.
Could be
Um,
working.
yeah, it can be working for you. Um, anyway, Denny, is there anything else that you want to go over before we call this episode complete?
I think that you definitely don't want to beat yourself up for any mistakes because I think that they're unfortunately a way to learn. Um, and you're going to make mistakes. So understand and know that, and don't say, "Oh my God, I'm not." Forget it. I'm done with this because it is going to happen. Because there's scenarios that change in every matter. You know what I mean? It's just
It's the cost of education. Think of it as tuition. We have all made mistakes. I've made some extremely expensive mistakes in my real estate investments. But if you quit investing after that, then those mistakes, those learning opportunities go to waste. Um, so think of it as tuition. It's the cost of education in real estate investing.
absolutely.
So as a quick recap, 6 steps to go from being a part-time landlord to a full-time landlord. 1, build a deep emergency fund and cash cushion. Yeah, Millie's chiming in the background there. Step 2 is refine your business plan. Get very clear on your goals. Get very clear on your competitive advantages. Step 3, create income contingency plans. Whether that's flipping houses or wholesaling deals, starting a side hustle. Find other ways to bring in income when you need it, both for your personal expenses and for your investing capital. Step 4, build your team, and particularly contractors of all stripes. Step 5, become an expert on the housing market where you invest. And step 6, systematize your business and automate as much as you possibly can. All right, on that note, please rate and review us on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Tim Dooley says a very successful local landlord questions why I would need a team. Well, none of us are experts in everything, right? I mean, even someone who's a good roofer may not know anything about wiring. So you still need an electrician, right? There are things that you don't have the expertise to do, and there are things you don't have the time to do, even if you do have the expertise.
Right.
And
you would be surprised the things that you learn just from building a good team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, one of the things that we do with our co-investing initiative, Denny and I are both very experienced real estate investors, and we have a team, we partner with other real estate investors who are experts on their local housing markets. So, Drew Sidgett, for example, is an expert on the Michigan housing market where he invests. So we partner with him for his local expertise. And for his labor, going out and he knows how to find deals in that market. He can manage the deals as the boots on the ground. So, those partners are really important, even if you do have the expertise.
Absolutely.
And Tim says both you guys and the other virtual mentor encourage mentors or partners. And he says I do know I need a team with a smiley face. I hear you, Tim. All right. On that note, we're going to wrap things up. We will see you next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Stay in touch. Shoot us a message over Messenger or email us at
support@support@cashflow.com.
That's right. Send us topic ideas too. Let us know what you want to hear about. We'll see you next week.
Have a great day.
Bye.